Prof, you got to unmute.
Okay. Well,
this is just informal while waiting for the audience. Yeah.
Now, time to time we need to change, right? My background is my first degree is not in education, but after getting my deep education, so I was a teacher in my early days. So when I went to university, still a teacher and educator. But as time passed, as time comes, we need to adapt to the new technology. I remember when we stepped into millennials in 2000, I've done with teaching of computer, but basic to the teachers at that time. But the rapid changes, the dynamic changes actually happened after 2010, especially when you remember you were the deputy vice chancellor, academic, and you have moved, the top management has moved into using iPad. That was back in 2013, yeah?
Yeah.
We launched our iPad, and that actually sparked the interest into turning the audio-visual, common audio-visual, which is radio, tape recorder, into the web tools. But that time was a very limited web tools. We don't call web tools actually, it's just a software. Yeah. But when University Malaysia Kelantan, during that time you were the deputy vice chancellor, you and the top management make the emphasize the top management emphasize on new gadget for the student, actually for the student. But when it comes to the student, we need to equip ourselves as an educator. And that time you have appointed me as the director for teaching and learning unit first. Then 2018, then 2016 was promoted into a center. So actually that sparked the interest from normal AVA, audio-visual aid AVA, more into web tools, yeah. And of course, tech savviness must be there to align with the current generation needs. Yeah, they are very fast. So as an educator, we cannot step back. We need to really
move on. Yeah.
Yes. So although there's some fear in the first place, but as you adapt to the new environment, it is of course it's a challenging, but I find it interesting. And of course the Malaysian higher education, HE, has given a lot of opportunities, and with the Malaysian educational blueprint, there is very important. There is the framework, especially dealing with how to mobilize students, how to unlock the student potential. That is very important. So making UMK visible is one way. And we are very lucky at UMK. We have big numbers of young ones. So I think very timely that UMK has gotten the grip to let the young ones involved in teaching and learning using the new gadgets. So we are very lucky actually.
Yeah. If okay, at the university level, I mean, I'm glad to hear that UMK is one step ahead if we were to compare to other universities in terms of the readiness, and we also already applied. In fact, we already adopt using the new technology, and you have created the e-campus version 2.0. Okay, but my take is that, all right, okay, at the central level, do you think the academic division at the central level has to be very open on this and support the using of the new technologies like AI, machine learnings into the education system. Because we don't want to see to have like the previous episode we've been talking about, should there be an AI center at the strategic level? Well, that will focus more on info and infra. But at the education, which are the education department under the Ministry of Higher Education, basically these are the implementer, right? Who must embrace and who must understand very clearly, okay, the inner workings of this new technology. What do you think? Now, should we go, or how do we go about if you were to advise the ministry level?
Yeah. Thank you, Prof. Actually, the division of academic excellence at the JPT or our ministry level, they are working very hard. In fact, they really make sure that all universities, all the 20 public universities, of course we are autonomy to what we are doing, but they at the beginning of our embarking into fully on online, we call it as blended learning in the early stage, in the initiative years, where we have to expedite the shift 9 globalized online learning in our blueprint. So the department, the division has really taken full charge into getting feedback time after time to see the progress of each university. And of course, we translated all the initiative in the blueprint into practice. That's why we couple up shift 1 and shift 9. Shift 1 is more towards curriculum development and assessing student achievement. So we sort of hybrid these two, and we direct the university, of course, all the faculty, the deans and the academic owners, program owner, who are able to think about how to design the curriculum that have technology embedding. So at the national level, we have the Council for E-Learning. I think that is something tremendous at university level, at the national level. And that is why we consolidate certain matters. But going back to our university level, we need to think how to customize our own student and our lecturers, because they are the practitioner. And of course, the moment of truth actually, when we're able to translate the blueprint, which is shift 9 and shift 1 into the practice. So I think it has done a superb job to translate and being very practical in what we are doing now. And we have come into 6 years after 2015, 16, 17, 18. Now we are going into the third phase. Yeah. So I think the national level, at the national level, we always being one of the
okay.
We able
being
to put
seen as a champion. Not yet.
We able to put UMK's flag, one of the top in championing e-learning. Yeah, that's why
wonderful to hear.
When the lockdown happened, or when COVID crisis, we are not actually panic because it's actually in place.
Yeah. So you say there is a council, the National Council of Learning, right?
E-learning.
Council of E-learning at the national level. Does the member in the council also comprises people from the technology background, or basically they are education?
Yeah, basically they are of all discipline. since they're being appointed by each of particular public university, so they are not necessarily comes from education background, but we are educators. But we always get advice from the technology side because some of the members have very strong knowledge in IT.
Okay, I will want you to reserve some of your views to the audience later, right? Okay, if I were to probe more questions, and then you may perhaps miss some points to share with the audience. Okay, let's see. While waiting for the audience to come in, right? If anyone who's already registered in wants to give a feedback or just to share your experience. No, basically it's from feedback. Okay. Right. So Prof. Su, I will begin with later. I will begin with recap the previous episode as usual. Yeah. Okay. And I will inform the audience what would be the highlight or the previous, and then what will be the topic that will be discussed today, and you to introduce you briefly because your biodata will be already shot in the posted in the through the Facebook and the Zoom. Okay. Then I will, for this time around, because when I look at the whole agenda and I've looked at some of your points, your slides, so this time around we will start with Mr. Nazri first. Okay, so Mr. Nazri will perhaps to share us the overall or the overarching of personalized learning, and what important is I want him to share how AI actually revolutionized in personalized learning. And then move on to you, Prof. Su. Prof. Su is going to detail out, okay, the mechanisms of AI in personalized learning and how we go about in adopting AI in higher education, yeah, in the context of personalized learning, yeah, okay. Okay, do we have any? I think there are a lot of challenges actually. The educators, especially as you mentioned just now earlier. So we have that two groups of people, or maybe three groups. One, the young one, the generations X or Z, right? And the other group, I won't call the older group, but the elderly group, like me, for example. So we are not that used with all this new technology. So the challenge is how do we adapt ourselves with all this new technology? Yeah, even using the e-campus or other modes or other platforms of technology like Google Meet also kind of pressure to some of us. So what are your takes on this, Prof. Suria? What would you advise us, especially the elderly people like us, like me, you know?
I advise myself first. Well, we can't stop upskilling ourselves. That is my point.
Yeah, that's the key word, I think, upskilling. Yeah, we have to be updated, right?
Moving into AI, okay, I actually personally I got advice from Prof. Saufi, which is very near to us, and of course a lot of reading actually. And of course, when preparing this presentation, I make myself clear what to share and what does UMK has actually. UMK has talent. UMK provide infrastructure. UMK has the brain. Right? We have the IB center, and of course, it actually is so silo. So this is a time we have to consolidate everyone, consolidate all the centers, consolidate every stakeholders inside UMK and outside UMK. So we have to have one direction. So it means that we need to carry out lean management so that AI can be optimized. And my advice is always be positive. Prof. I really have strong belief that no matter how, for example, we able to pass through, although on the difficult time during COVID, when it is really locked down, although it is MCO, but everything turned 100% online. Even though our percentage shows that UMK has reached about 95% of our courses being conducted all this while. We have on 3 years basis, we have seen the good progressions of UMK courses being conducted on blended learning. And that is a good thing actually, that we did not spend much time dealing with the party that did not involve in the because the young one actually really make time to handhold the seniors. And of course, the seniors
you're right that we have to really what we call pimpin tangan lah the senior kan. Right, we have to handholding the senior because the phobia there, I think it's more like you say fear. I mean, I myself personally, I mean about 10 years ago, so we kind of like having this technophobia towards all this new technology, and now we can't escape.
But you did good job. I see that you really you did not miss any of webinar, our meeting online. You are one of the always
trying to, as people say, learning will never stop actually, till we die. So we have to keep abreast with the young ones, so when the young ones talk about all this machine learning lah, IoT, and talking about quiz, crossword, we thought of the crossword, but it's a crossword in the technology. So we got to understand this jargon, all these new buzzwords, Prof, so we have...
I'm with the young ones. Actually surrounded by the young one. I'm the eldest here, so I feel young when I'm able to understand the new technology, the new tools that there always aha in me, the aha moment in me. Oh, I know now. Aha. In fact, like now today we are using the different background, which I always want once before. And when Najmi came out and One Read One came out, because we were looking about to reduce messy behind. So I said, I'm not going to go to the CGI room. I'm not going to use the green room, but I'm really looking forward to have a background that will include into the presentation. So this is something that need to know.
Thank you, Prof. Su. Okay. Hi, we have a very constant follower here, Dr. Sailesh from India. How are you, Dr. Sailesh, today?
Good morning, Prof. How about you all?
We're fine.
Great. Thank you.
Fine. So what time is in India now?
Sorry?
What time is it now there?
It's 9:15 a.m.
9:15 a.m. Right.
We are 2.5 hours back of you.
Okay. All right. Great.
So how was the situation in India, Prof. Sailesh, now?
Yeah, actually, if you see, COVID cases are increasing, but good thing is again that what we call it as people are improving also. More cases of cure, people they have cured themselves. That means immunity is developing in Indians.
But they are increasing number lately, right? The last few weeks in India, right?
There's 1.3 billion of population.
Yeah. Great. Who else here? Jansarani? Dr. Tan from UMK. Yeah, you are in, ready. Hello, Dr. Tan.
Selamat pagi, Prof. Selamat pagi, Prof.
Selamat pagi. Yeah, selamat pagi. How are you doing?
Ya, good.
Great.
I sudah follow ini kali ketiga lah. From
I'm
beginning until
glad,
end.
right. So you are also one of our constant followers. Well, thank you very much, Dr. Tan, for all the support.
Thank you, Prof.
Okay. So who else here? Okay, Najmi. This Ridwan from PKPA, right? I suppose. So we are still waiting for people to come in. June, is it from FinB or from, may I know June? Miss or Mr. Chang? Chun Sheng Chang? So we're still waiting. Okay, we still have time, 15 more minutes to go, right? So while waiting for the audience to come in, okay, since Prof. Sailesh is here. So Prof. Sailesh, maybe perhaps you want to share with us, how's the practice of AI in the education sector in India, Prof?
Actually, if you see, it is totally a new concept in India. Because most of the public universities, except these top premium universities, they seldom use AI. Second thing is there that the faculty members in India are not trained enough.
Not trained enough.
Enough
Okay.
to use, I think, to blend this technology and teaching. If we see around also, when we talk about the dynamics of teaching and learning process, how teaching should be governed, in higher education sector, they don't know. This is the dying fact. The second thing comes is the cost of AI, which is very high. Third thing is there that even if they know how to teach online, they have gone through some online courses, and the biggest problem comes, which I think Dr. Suria will address today, is assessment.
Yeah.
The authentic assessment of learning. Because if you see, when we are going through the technological teaching and learning process and assessment, if it is very old process like same examination pattern, sometimes they go for, we can say, excess of assessment, over assessment, sometimes it is under assessment. There is no authentic assessment. This is the biggest problem in India. Fourth is there that there is so many places still, people, they do not have, though even good technological infrastructure is there in the cities, but people, they don't use for educational purpose.
Yeah, yeah.
That tech savvy also should be there, and what we call as they should know about how to use technology.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Even I will say that so many universities are using Moodle, but the usage is just 10%. It's only just to load the documents, especially documents initial time when we talk about the course structures. After that, they don't use.
So basically, you are saying the use, it is still heavily depends on the face-to-face.
It is more face-to-face only, yeah. It is more face-to-face. Even you see, that is for one semester, there are 16 classes, 16 sessions of 48 hours total. And most of the sessions are only face-to-face only.
Right, okay. Right, I'm going to call out. Yeah, we have Prof. Dr. Ruswati from Indonesia. Assalamualaikum, Doctor. Prof. Dr. Ruswati. Hello, Dr. Suria Saputra. Hello, Prof. So, I can see that she's also one of the very constant. She did not miss our previous episodes as well. Okay, never mind. Prof. Arham, you want to give any views? You were at KPT before, you were also in UTM. Wow, one of the very oldest and reputable technologies university in Malaysia.
Yeah.
Dr. Suria, yeah, I've got you, Prof. Dr. Ruswiati, yeah.
Yeah, Assalamualaikum.
Waalaikumsalam. Thank you very much, Prof, okay, for following us since day one, right? Okay, so how are you doing in Indonesia? Which part of Indonesia, Prof?
East Java, Surabaya.
Surabaya.
Yes.
Okay,
But
so
I was in UUM for more than 6 years. In Oya Graduate School of Business with Prof. Azizi.
I see, I see. So you are very familiar with the Malaysian landscape, yeah, of education.
Yeah, okay.
So
Thank you
right,
for
so,
invitation.
not to worry. Yeah, perhaps you want to share with us how the augmentations of new technology at the Indonesia, particularly in Surabaya region.
Not now, but later I will give share.
Later, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I just came in my office from my house to join this.
To join this webinar.
Yes.
Thank you very much, Prof.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. We look forward to your participation.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Right. Who else here?
Assalamualaikum, Professor Suria, Professor.
Waalaikumsalam, Mr. Nazri. Welcome back. Right. So you've done with your meeting, right?
Yes, yes. Hi, welcome back, Professor Rose. Thanks for covering for Professor Sabri.
Prof. Sabri, yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, okay, not to worry. Okay, right. Luckily, luckily this morning meeting has been shifted to the afternoon, so I have time for you guys. Yeah, thank you very much. It's an honor for me to moderate again these sessions. Yeah, okay.
And Professor Suria, how are you?
Is it me?
Hi, Professor Rose.
Hi. Yeah, thank you, Prof. Nazri. And I joined you start with the beginning of this webinar, and it's very interesting. You're sharing, Prof. Nazri. Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you so much.
Okay, Nazri, we have two Professor Suria. So today also Professor Suria, and one of our constant followers also Professor Suryasa. Okay.
Yes, I just read.
Right. Okay.
So just in case the original Professor Suria cannot make it, the other Professor Suria can come in and step up.
Sure, why not? Yeah, why not? Right. Okay.
Okay.
So, Cik Nazri, how have you been keeping for the last 1 week? Very busy. I can see that you are everywhere.
It's been 1 week already, so fast.
Yeah. Time flies.
Yeah, we've been kept busy with a lot of research work. We continue to do a lot of research work for our AI projects. So as you know, we cover different verticals, education, finance, healthcare, and a few others. So we have to continuously look at the client requirements, client feedback, and client inputs, and how to make it smart, how to make it, heuristics, and how to make it predictive. So a lot of times we have to understand how the human brains work. A lot of times we have to understand how they think, and then we try to
transfer it into robots.
Sorry?
Right, okay. it's interesting. We try to understand now. We try to understand the human, how human thinks, and then we create robots or machines, okay, to act and feels like human, right?
Yes, yes. I mean, we can't copy everything, but we can understand how they decide, you know, how they make decisions, how they react to a certain situation. And this is why the study of the human brains and understand how they act, how they behave, how they think, is very, very important, especially in today's world. So we are here not to create robots to replace humankind, but to spend deeper, to spend a lot of resources to understand in a deeper manner how people think and decide, act. And this is why it's very interesting, you know, God's creation, you know. We are trying to understand and appreciate God's creation and how they behave, act, and in different ways. Just give me a minute. I got to attend to something. Hang on a sec.
Sure. Go ahead, please. Yeah. So we still have 5 minutes. Yeah. Okay. While I'm searching, where is Prof Suria, our guest panel? Where are you, Prof?
Sorry, Professor Rose, I had to attend to a call. Yeah.
Not to worry about that. Prof Suria, are you in? We can start any minute. We can't see Prof Suria's face.
I can hear you.
But, there you are. Yeah. Okay,
I can hear
you. Yeah.
Technical. I'm lucky to be surrounded by these young ones. That's why I at heart feel young, but of course my teacher is old. But I'm surrounded with the young ones, Dr. Nazri, Mr. Nazri. So
Nazri is there. Don't worry, Prof Suria. That's the motivation that we have. We must always think that we are young, we can move forward, we are vibrant enough. Of course, Mr. Nazri is the youngest among us lah.
I don't think so. I don't think so. You never know.
You know, yeah. Okay. Right.
Mr. Nazri, have you been to UMK?
UMK, no. UMK Kelantan, no.
The one behind me is our main building.
It's a very nice structure, yeah?
Yeah. Very beautiful, yeah.
Yeah, it's not like a typical university building.
Maybe Prof Rose can explain. She was one of those.
we actually, during that time, in 2012-13, we tried to conserve the heritage value, because being in Kelantan, there's so many heritage, there's so many intricate design that we try to embrace through the campus outlook actually. So you can, if you come over, so you can still see the wooden houses, the wooden gazebos, and even in most of the buildings, though it is a bricks building, but we try to impart the heritage, the culture value, the intricate values of Kelantan actually. You should come over one day, yeah.
Inshallah, I would love to come. And what I miss most is the Kelantanese accent. So I don't seem to hear the telo or the accent from both of you. So hopefully you can address Kelantanese.
Where are you originally from, Mr. Nazri?
Yeah, I'm from Singapore. Yeah.
You're originally from Singapore?
That's right.
Okay, all right.
But half of my time is in KL. Yeah.
Okay, kalau kecek Kelantan kan tak payah semua orang kan, Prof Suria?
For your information, Mr. Nazri, actually our system, this OB system that can capture student progress has been benchmarked by Singapore Polytechnic.
Wonderful.
And, last year they came, actually they negotiate 6 months with me to come and visit. I said, we are very small, we are very new, we are the newest. And I don't think Singapore Poly, which is 60 years old, wanted to learn from us.
No,
So
it's amazing. It's amazing.
yeah.
You
So,
should share this more. Yeah. Looking forward to the sharing.
yeah, after 6 months, I said, okay, but I can't promise a lot.
So they're willing to make the trip all the way to Kelantan.
Yeah, they came by Scoot Airline.
Nice. They came by Scoot. Okay.
Yeah. And I traveled from Kota Baru to Changi, Terminal 1, right? Low cost, the Terminal 1.
Okay.
On Scoot.
So they flew you over to Singapore.
Yes, after that.
Right. Okay. Okay. Wonderful.
Yeah. So I think when the Education Ministry wanted to look upon how to assess generic skills, right? Last year there was a policy, right, in Singapore.
Yes.
Yeah. So they browsed to what Malaysia has been doing. So we had the initiative in 2015 that actually cater on our curriculum. Then how do we go about in assessing student attributes?
Okay, and have you shared this with the other universities prior to this webinar?
Yeah, actually the entire of, oh no, not yet. But basically, since 2015, when we launched our blueprint, Malaysian universities and higher education actually has embarked into how the system can be expedite the process of the whole curriculum that we have designed. And there are parts that after data entry we assess and we have to see the reporting of student achievement. So this is done here throughout all academic programs. It's a matter of how we utilize the data.
We would love to go deeper on this with you, online and offline, Prof. Suria. And what we love to do is to put the narratives and the, see how can it be blended with your forecasting training techniques. Having said that, Professor Rose, I think, shall we start now?
Yes. It's already sharp 12 o'clock, right? Okay. Right. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, okay, to all the fellow audience and followers, right, to these auspicious episodes, Kim. Assalamualaikum and a very good afternoon to all, to everyone here. So welcome back to the series of webinars on AI in higher education. So if I would allow me to recap the last episode, yeah. Okay, we have Prof. Sabri and Mr. Nazri also talking about the AI strategies and what are the steps involved basically in implementing those AI strategies and in the higher education. And one of the things that has been pointed out in the last episode too is about how AI can actually be adopted in the personalized learning, or in other words, AI can transform the learning experiences, okay? Removes all those traditional limitations and introduces new possibilities, okay? Right, so today, together with UMK and MyFinB, okay, so we are honored to have Prof. Dr. Suria Baba, the Director for Center for Excellence and Academic Development of Universiti Malaysia Kelantan. Welcome, Prof. Suria.
Welcome. Assalamualaikum, Prof. and everyone.
Waalaikumsalam. Who will be together with Mr. Nazri to discuss a very important topic, especially to we educators, okay, that is how can we optimize learning performance using AI, right? So this time around, okay, I'm going to move to you, Mr. Nazri, first, yeah? Okay, so in the first episode and the second episode, you have mentioned briefly the role of AI in personalized learning. And we all know and we agree that AI can transform the way we teach, the way we manage our academic tasks, yeah? Okay, perhaps you would like to tell us, okay, how AI can actually revolutionize the personalized learning, yeah? So you can provide an overview of that. So over you, Mr. Nazri.
Thank you, Professor Rose, and hello, Professor Suria and everyone. Basically, my angle today is to focus on the student aspects of learning experience or learning analytics. So to us, there is a background to it, right? Students who fail to graduate, okay, are also costly to universities, colleges, and training providers, what we call student attrition. Now, student attrition is disadvantageous for both students and the IHL or Institutes of Higher Learning. For students, failing to earn a degree will hamper the efforts to improve the socio-economic status, right? And well, for IHLs means that they have to, it creates a major financial problem as shared by Dato' VC before because of the loss of income through tuition fees from students. We estimated that at least 25% of students globally dropped out, okay, without any qualification, and the problem of student retention has become a priority for education providers in the wake of unemployment, in the wake of financial challenges and all that. And this is where understanding the student experience comes in. So in higher education, it's key to prioritize the experience, the student experience of students, not only to ensure they graduate, but to have an engaged and active student base that become energized advocates and alumni. So if you look at a global basis, right, UK leads the way in higher education with retention rate, not dropout rate, but retention of 70% compared to close to 50% in US and 30% in Australia. So a lot of students, as you can see, are falling through the cracks in terms of student retention, right? So you minus all the student retention, you get the dropout rate. So in Malaysia, there was a study that shows that situation of students dropped out in their tertiary level education is about 15 to 20%. That means retention is about 75 to 80%. And reported that a private university in Malaysia has an attrition rate exceeding 14% in just 6 months, just in 2012 before. Now, these numbers are major concern for the sector and the future generations today. There's a range of issues that come into play in failing to complete an education program, such as, so there are factors and issues, financial difficulties as number one, cost availability or cost interest. Third is lack of counseling or coaching support. Fourth is lack of student engagement. So student engagement, the last one, is particularly important. Student retention for us is not a one-time thing. It's about keeping students engaged throughout their entire course through to graduation. So in the digital age, the landscape of college life, uni life, and the learning experience is shifting dramatically and digitally. So this offers colleges and universities a vast array of tools and avenues for increased communication. Now, to ensure that students leave an institution with credentials that came for, education providers must focus on something called improving the student or learning experience, right? So as of 2019, there's about more than 173,000 international students studying in Malaysia. These students are spending an average of 30,000 ringgit a year on tuition fees. Now, remember, this is before COVID. So 170,000 over international students spend an average of 30,000 ringgit a year on tuition fees and accommodation. This does not take into account the multiplier effects on the economy of this community. And the education sector is estimated to be contributing at least 17 billion ringgit per year to the country's economy, right? So with this backdrop in mind, I present you a set of slides that focuses more on the student learning experience. So we've seen the academic side of things, but we want to understand the science, the behavior, the action, the attitude of a student in studying, in taking, pursuing a course in their university. May I have my slides, please? So with this in mind, I would like to bring everybody, okay, towards a section where we cover 3 parts, okay? Can I have the slides, please? Thank you.
We are having some technical issues. Please bear with us.
Okay, never mind, Mr. Nazri. If you want to, you talk about, I mean, in a way, AI can help to reduce the retention and boost the motivations of the students in learning, actually, yeah? Okay. So perhaps you want to elaborate a little bit more while we're waiting for your slides?
Yeah, just to give you a sense of what is contained in the slides because there are several components in the student life before they enter university, choosing the right course, right? And then when they enter university, what kind of experience they go through the teaching and learning environment. Okay, and the third part is before they graduate, how have the combination of the interests, competencies that they acquire, knowledge that they have, bring out together, connect together while preparing for them, preparing them for the workforce. Okay, so here we bring about some information that talks about the components of student learning experience. And before that, I just want to give you a background in terms of how we use data that's been collected over 10 years through various local and global universities involving teachers, involving students, primary, secondary, tertiary schools, as well as the students, the constituents that come underneath it. So we have quite a decent sized data to study how people think, how people react, how people adjust themselves or adapt themselves to different topics or different subjects that they go through. So with this, I would like to bring everyone to three parts. One is a student experience when they enter uni, during uni, and then entering the workforce. Second is possible root causes for under or overperformance. And third will be the predictive learning analytics that we deploy for them across faculties, across courses, across levels of education. Okay. And just to give you a visual, as my presentation is going to be very short, about 12-ish minutes from here, is that before you enter uni, right, one of the top 5 concerns for any student will be choosing the courses, or which uni is popular, which is the courses that are in trend, are trendy, are very sexy, so to speak, right? And sometimes they may make choices, they get influenced by peers, their friends, there are people around them who advise them, oh, take accountancy, don't take engineering, don't take pharmacy, you know, don't take medicine. So there will always be different influences that affect a student's choice in learning or taking on a course. And then there is also a part of them that is personal interest versus I need to take, I have to take kind of choices. So personal interest runs the risk of what you call shock sendiri. Sometimes out of your personal interest, sometimes you can get carried away. You want to take on something that is so close to your interest, but sometimes you don't do enough research without knowing what it takes to get there, the cost, the duration, the prospects at that point in time. So therein lies a risk. While personal interest is very important, but there is a risk that people tend to get carried away without looking at the facts and figures that require them to do well in that course and the sacrifices it takes, right? And then the fourth factor will be the basic knowledge, whether they have any existing basic knowledge in a particular field before taking on a degree program. They could come from a diploma program, they could come from a higher certificate program or higher DIP, right? That brings them into the university. The idea is if they have that basic knowledge, that the foundation, taking on a degree, a tertiary level program would so-called ease their way through, at least in the first year. And of course, last but not least is the prospects. So a student goes through these 5 choices and gets, interplayed in their mind, and it will be a battle between internal and external decision driven. Okay, and why do we emphasize on interests? Okay, research has shown that as long as you have interest, it will be a key for motivating them to learn more. So we simplify this whole prognosis by saying that if you uncover a student's interest in a particular subject, in a particular course, in a particular academic program, chances are your work becomes relatively lesser to motivate them. As far as motivating them is concerned, they get to be self-driven a little bit more, right? And this is where we need to identify where is the interest of a student in taking a program, how granular it is, how high, how low, and how does it change from year to year, semester to semester, right? So this is an important part of why interest in a student becomes key. So in order, when we analyze those students we mentioned before globally, right, we looked at student and school performance, their student performance as an individual, and then the overall school ecosystem as far as managing performance and carrying out performance is concerned. Okay, so here we see the family background, which include parents. right? Adopted, divorced, complete parents, right? Single parent, and what sort of demographics they come from. And we look at the personal attributes, their resilience, their determination, their self-awareness, and then in terms of their preparation for their studies, how much they commit towards their studies. So this is a framework, a simplified framework that looks at how student and school performance, drive, the results that we want to see out of students themselves. And moving on quickly, and bottom line is to know motivation of a student, we summarize it into 3 components: interest, environment, and technique. So interest relates to the personal innate, passion for that subject or that course that they're taking on. And the environment looks at the, social, family, study environment that they're in. And technique, of course, relates to the way they study and the way the lecturers or teachers adopt a certain technique to get in touch with the students' way of learning. All these drive motivation. And here we use AI to manage and control these drivers in very granular form to study how to make them successful. And so the third section of my presentation talks about the different sort of analytics that we have that's able to predict results. So one tool that we use, that we built internally using the global best practices is the SEL, social emotional learning. Again, we are trying to measure not just the academic results, but the innate characteristics, the attributes of a student through their SEL. I know the next question then becomes, Nazri, where do you get the data from? What sort of data is needed? I will leave it to the FAQ, but for now, just take it that we use internal data, external data, we use quantitative data, qualitative data, we use past, present data, and project into the future by mapping into a framework and fuzzy logic that helps to analyze all these variables, such as self-management, social awareness, relationship management, self-awareness, right, and responsible decision-making. So with AI, you are able to not only provide an overall profile and benchmark them, you're able to provide very detailed analysis by machine on the student, focus on the strengths and weaknesses of that student in that topic, in that subject, in that particular semester, right? And then you identify the gaps that they have in the 5 key areas, and then you come up with solution. The system will come up with recommendation that identifies the gaps and the techniques on how to address those specific areas to motivate them. Again, the model is built around motivation, right? We talk about these components where we want to tackle the root of it, which is the student self-motivation by measuring their interest, environment, and the technique, which will then impact student performance. And then later on, at subsequent sessions, we can discuss about how data from the school can be integrated together to map out against the student performance. Okay, so moving on, let me just move forward. So that is tool number 1. Tool number 2 is what you call the workplace communication and engagement. Okay, here we talk about, again, there's a summary profile of that student, whether is able to adapt to the workplace environment in terms of how they engage their employers, supervisors, and seniors, and how do we communicate. Communication is a big problem amongst young graduates. Okay, they have to be more confident, they have to speak substantive stuff, and these are the things that are needed to be blended with the technical stuff they learn in university. Again, you will also predict, other than the profile and the strength finder, you can also determine the impact assessment before training, during training, and after training. So with all the attributes and data is collected of how the student react, you can predict 1, 3, 6 months later how they are likely to perform at the workplace. And then you can even estimate it. I think the second episode, we talked about the ROI of learning, or SROI of learning, right, Professor Rose? So we have tools to measure
that's right.
The SROI that looks at not just the money and dollars and cents, but the learning impact. Okay, here we can use the Kirkpatrick model, you can use the Phillips model, we can use what you call that, the SROI model of how they basically learn each of the assessment criteria that is being put by the machine. Okay, so naturally all these attributes can be added and to suit each environment. And then beyond prediction of likelihood of performing in school or at the workplace, you will also have an auto-generated training and development plan, a personalized L&D, learning and development, or training and development on that particular attribute for that particular trainee, right? And from there on, you can control it, okay? And then moving on very quickly, the third one, critical, is the systems thinking in problem solving and decision making. Same feature, give you a profile, give you impact assessment, pre, post, and predict in the future. Let me just, it just moved suddenly on its own. Okay, and okay, so it looks at, again, the L&D or TND plan based on the specific modules in problem solving and decision making. So we want to know how well the students solve problems, not just in school, but potentially at the workplace and at home. So we throw them many scenarios, problem-based learning, we measure the impact, we study their what do you call that, their attributes, and then map it against the quantitative or structured data. So to us, the days of measuring grades is one thing, right? Maybe less relevant now. It's still relevant, but it needs to be equipped with dimensions like this. Like even before AI, forget about AI for a moment, right? As we speak now, secondary schools, primary schools, okay, in Singapore, for example, they deploy what you call the SEL, social emotional learning. They make people fill up questionnaires, right? Or 8-10 pages of questions they have to fill up over 1 hour, right? Then they will analyze where are your gaps in terms of the SEL score, away from the academic score, right? So schools, Ministry of Education in Singapore have already deployed SEL for at least more than 4 or 5 years. Now, the thing is, why do they just measure grades? Why do they measure all these attributes, right? Because they want to see how the cognitive thinking abilities of the students are. But to me, AI can use more than just analyzing questionnaire. AI can analyze the way you submit your assignments, the way you answer your assignments, the way you carry out a project, the way you're being interviewed, the way your social media is producing certain public statements about your lifestyle, your hobbies, and all that. So the old way of doing things need to be replaced with the new way of doing things. We have to, take into account questionnaire, no doubt, but we also take into academic and non-academic factors like this. Okay, and last but not least is measuring leadership. So we do this for, like I mentioned before in episode 2, for the GLC for its scholars. So they have a set of dimensions, okay, that relates to branding, team dynamics, customer impact, customer impact, team dynamics, values, and ideation and planning, for example. So why do they measure that? Why would this be important to a GLC for these 4 values, for example, right? So the idea is to measure this means that you need empirical, anecdotal, okay, subjective, and objective. You need to have it dynamic. That means you cannot do a survey 6 months ago and expect the survey to continue in the next 3 years. Things have to be dynamic, and this is why AI comes in to analyze, not just in one particular point in time, but different points in time. I think this is something that we want to share as practitioner to the academicians, right? That when you analyze a study or a feedback, right, it has to be dynamic as far as today's setting is concerned, right? So I think at the end of the day, to us, having interest in a degree program is key. Starting point when they enter into degree program, understanding their motivation and what they want to achieve from the career is important. And if you don't have that, you have to guide them. You have to provide them with a roadmap, profiling, so that they know what they want to achieve, they know how to achieve and when to achieve and where to achieve, where to head off. And the root causes for under overperformance sit at the school, personal, and family level. And it's not just a single factor. You cannot just say, oh, this fella get an F or D1, D2 distinction or C level, C minus, because they're poor or because they don't have enough coaching. Cannot, there's intertwining of at least 500 to 1,000 of factors just on one student. So are you going to analyze it manually, or are you going to analyze using AI that will compress and combine and connecting all the dots and to explain the possible scenarios of what causes that performance to happen? Okay, and at the end of the day, the predictive learning analytics can be used to determine outcome beyond the university. You see, at the 3rd year, when you carry out a program, you put in all the future data and the current and the historical data, and you put in their mindset, their thinking, you are able to predict at least in the first 12 months of them entering a workplace. So this is the kind of activities that we've been doing. and it's been showing very, very accurate results, right? That's able to profile a student, tackle the motivation and project forward, and by using academic and non-academic data. With that, thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you, Mr. Nazri. Wow. Okay. After listening to you, okay, my takeaway is that AI without data is empty, right? Okay. So you have basically discussed about what are the most important aspect that we need to capture first. But I think what you have mentioned is how AI can actually transform the learning experience, the traditional learning experience, and we must be able to capture the motivations, the drive that they have, and this would involve not just the students, but the ecosystem that you mentioned about the family, the work, the education environment, and so forth. Okay, right. Prof. Suria, you are known for being expert and one of the guru in teaching and learning, especially on e-learning process, yeah, okay. And you have been in the universities for more than 30 years and looking into all these new educational tools, yeah, okay. So I'm sure you're going to share with us, okay, what are the key tenets in personalized learning, yeah, and how these academic analytics, okay, I'm going to move forward from the predictive learning analytics to academic analytics can actually be adopted in the university setting. Over you, Prof. Suria, please.
Okay, thank you, Prof. Rose. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and welcome to everyone. First of all, thank you to Prof. Rose, who has been constantly moderating all the episodes, and I'm very lucky that you are the moderator for today's session. Yeah,
Thank you.
and of course the organizer, Mr. Nazri, and the team. And not forgetting, I would like to convey my appreciation to Prof. Dato, Vice Chancellor of UMK, who actually been very passionate about getting the data of our student. You know? So this is very, very important for us. So a few key tenets that I'm going to share during these short presentations, I would like to put into these presentations on the mission scenarios, mission document that we need to address and we have to embrace, and of course, what kind of graduate that we need to develop. And of course, we have the system actually, we have the design. In designing our curriculum, we have the OBE, outcome-based education. And at the end, how do we utilize the humongous data that we gain from our system? So, Mr. Nazri had shared a very comprehensive data, which is really amazed to me. And I think that kind of humongous data actually helps us to extract, so that data can be utilized to help the student. So in terms of what happened after COVID, we are still in the aftermath of crisis of lockdown. Yeah. So I would like to capture what Forbes has reported 17 April, I mean not long before, the skills that students should acquire. That I will map into what mission higher education framework of 4.0, which was launched in 2018. There are some similarities. The 8 required skill post-COVID has listed up the skill set that need to be learned and to be practiced by our current student. The 8 skill sets are student able to be adapted and to be flexible in going through this their journey as a student. And of course, they are the tech-savvy society. They are the IT-savvy generation compared to me of my generation, or maybe Prof. Rose. I'm older than Prof. Rose. Yeah. So they are so ICT. They are ICT natives. So how do we extract their their talent, their skill sets in enduring their technology insights. And of course, we always emphasize on the creativity, innovation, and with all these mountains and hills of data, how do we inculcate them to be literate in data? Of course, there are few generic skills that they need to acquire, such as emotional quotient, is emotional intelligence that being shared by or had been developed by Gartner. And of course, there are required skills like leadership, digital and coding skill. When we map into what has been shared by Nation Higher Education 4.0 framework in 2018, is not far different from what Forbes has reported in 2020. It was about a year plus 2 years. So one of the key tenets by the Nation Higher Education 4.0 or IR, we also emphasize on students need to learn to be adaptive, to be more flexible, to be more creative, able to solve problems. They had to be resilient. That is the key thing. So resilient, how they undergo this period, the critical period, the crisis during the MCO. And I think as an educator for the past few months, we can really understood how student has able to go through this crisis, and of course with the help of the educators and lecturers. And there are, and of course, we always uphold values and ethics. And of course, Nation Higher Education Blueprint has always emphasized on being a holistic student, able to be mindfulness, they are balanced, and of course, we always emphasize to inculcate the entrepreneurial skill sets. So these are the skill set that need to be acquired by our student. So how and where do we conceptualize all these skill set? Where about that we have to move on? So Nations has embarked into our Nation Educational Blueprint in 2015 that actually runs in our second phase, the last part of our second phase, that we actually going into our third phase, which is 2021-2025. But it's still relevant even though it was back 6 years ago. And I would like to share the two important shifts that being addressed. Shift one with initiative A1 and A2 that emphasize on curriculum design. And of course, Mission Higher Education has launched the Future Ready curriculum to develop future-proof students. So how does it mesh into our post-COVID situation? And together with the blueprint, we have our Mission Qualification Framework, which has been redesigned, clustered from 8 program learning outcomes into 5 clusters that has been listed into 11 program learning outcome. So these learning outcome needs to be acquired throughout their study. And how does it map? It maps into the curriculum structure. So when the program owner and their team developing the curriculum, or they have to review the curriculum, these are the elements that matters when putting into the curriculum structure and so forth. And of course, what actually we see in the future. So we have so beautiful document, we have so well-placed, well-planned blueprint, but what is the future like? So I think if I could recap from what has been addressed by the Vice Chancellor in his sharing in first episode, he talked about changes. Yeah, changes in the industry, demand in higher education, And of course, higher education should propose value proposition. And of course, there are a period. We have to embrace since the document put an emphasis on creativity, innovation, critical thinking. How do we put all these attributes or these skill set into our student, and it can be mapped into our curriculum, the visions, our curriculum, what actually we want to put into program objective, program learning outcome, and so forth. And the other part, which is also important, the psychological part, the motivational part, which has been addressed by Mr. Nazri before, to activate the educators' agentic behavior, which is something like social cognition, which has been addressed by Bandura, social cognition, whereby a person need to have a power into directing their destiny. So how do we, as an educator, we ourselves to motivate ourselves into the changes that is rapidly happening now, so that we can help our students into directing their destiny. And one important thing for us to capture towards future towards the future is to, of course, we always have to embrace changes. We have to be a risk taker that become our culture. And with that, I would like also to recap what Dato' Vice Chancellor has addressed in our first episode, that we are being surrounded by humongous wealthy technology. So how do we redesign our curriculum so that students able to learn, able to go through the process, and with that, the educators has to redesign back our teaching and delivery. Of course, the content keep on improving, so that when we deliver our teaching and learning, that we're able to help our student, to assist our student towards the building of personalized learning. So of course, the current situation, and I think that in the future, there will be more data, there will be more analytics, and of course, this is where the intelligence takes place. And Mr. Nazri had shared a lot on their research from documents and from the observations and from their anecdotal document and so forth. But at the university level, at our part, we have to embrace our curriculum, which has been designed based from the OBE, which is outcome-based education. Almost in Malaysia, if I could say, we are using OBE as our basic element, so that when we design the curriculum, we know that this is what is going to happen to our students. We have anticipated that what is going, how the student going through the whole process of being a medical person, being an entrepreneur, being an architect, and whatever courses that they have choose. So the curriculum actually play a major role when being designed, so that students who undergo those program will able to be molded, be able to handhold our students, so that the value that they will be inculcating will give the impact in later on. Okay, so of course in our curriculum, OBE cyclic process, it's not on stage, it's a cyclic and iterative process, whereby there are time after time we have the monitoring, we have the evaluation, and of course the analysis. we have the next slide? Okay. So this is the cyclic process that I mentioned earlier, whereby curriculum has been designed according to the niche of the program. Of course, we had the external, the board of studies who advises, and of course we have the alumni to give their ideas and thought so that the curriculum will be par to the needs of the current market. And of course, when they graduated, they have full of knowledge and skills throughout whatever they have gone through. So then the important part after data has been analyzed, there are parts where we have the huge data actually. We have the huge data. Then how do we go about with this data that I will share later on. And of course, at the UMK, and of course at the mostly at the all the public university in Malaysia, from 2015, we have formulated an algorithm so that all program learning outcome can be assessed. So throughout their journey, either they are on diploma level or either they are on degree level, they have to go through, and each learning outcome can able to be assessed. And we actually emphasize on learning outcome that fit into their program. For example, if I could share few subsamples here on curriculum of 2U to I of UMK has been offering, which is 2 year in the university and 2 year at the industry. Yeah, so it has been running since 2015 during Prof as a DVC, Prof. And they have finished their study 4 years. They have been 2 years in university, the first year in university, second year at industry, the third year they come back to finish their knowledge, and the fourth year actually they are running their business. Yeah? And this year was their graduating year actually. So this is the cycle. Okay. So you see, I have put the sample here. You can see the data there, the charts there. We had the first chart on the left bottom. It is 8 PLO, where is MPF 1.0. That the last one, actually the PLO 8 will be emphasized on the entrepreneurial skills. Yeah, and the MPF 1.0 has just embarked, and they have been doing the curriculum review, and it is stands number 10. Yeah, so you see, the strength of the curriculum actually being tabled out into the courses. So this is where student being facilitated, student being assist into being an entrepreneur when they graduated. So, and of course, these are the learning outcome that they should accustom, and with the helps of the lecturers, the supervisors, and also the industry. So if I could share some of the data, yeah, this is the real data. I'm not sure whether it is clearly there. It shows that the first year, the first semester, it shows from our data here how students who are underachiever need. They are not actually performing, but there are points that the program owner could advise, or the academic advisor could advise the student where their weaknesses are. And of course, throughout the cyclic process of OBE, there are parts we have to conduct the intervention program. And at UMK, there's numbers of intervention program that has been conducted, so that to help those students who are having difficulties or students who are weak in certain learning outcomes. And compared to the students who are excellent or high achiever, so the cumulative, integrated cumulative grade is above 3.7. So you see the outcome will be much stable. If I point out on the bar graph, you see they are keep on moving, and at the end of this is the 7th semester, cumulative the 7th semester, it shows that the leg of the spider web has grown well. It is stable. So this is a point where the academic advisor play a role into advising the student, and these are the data actually that we able to extract. So if we see the trending of the student who are not improving in certain learning outcome, there is where the intervention takes place. And of course, the students who are high flyer, who are excellent in and out of the class, so we did not leave them behind. They should be given the motivation. They should be given more help in terms of being a wholesome and holistic student. That is what Shift 1 actually has addresses, that we need to develop students to be holistic, to be balanced, and to have the entrepreneurial mindset. So I've given some examples here, the subsamples, where the high achiever and low achiever here. Now, there are during the process of this cyclic curriculum design, whereby there are inter and intra reporting. So of course, we conduct midterm assessment. We're able to see the progress of the student, and of course we have the end semester reporting that shows student development or progress. So which PLO need to be focused? Student will undergo certain advice, or usually the program owner will conduct workshops or program so that students able to improve their learning outcomes. And of course, these are also the data that program owners should hold, so that when they carry out their curriculum review, they're able to put emphasis whether are they doing the right thing, are they delivering the content in the right manner, because we are very particular in how you accommodate when you say demonstrating, but then you do lecture. You has state shouldn't only display, but at the end is just only giving explanation. So this is very important in the part of the educators themselves. So they need to be more mindful and to be very careful that whenever they draw into this course learning outcome, each and every learning outcome worth, because we should be proud that our courses need to develop student performance, student attributes. So as I've mentioned before, the intervention program at UMK, there's a lot from each faculty, from each program. For example,
your voice is breaking, Prof. Suria.
Okay.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you clearly now.
Okay. Sorry. The intervention program, after we got the reporting, at the end of the semester, the program owner will see from the data itself, they will conduct a program to improve student learning outcome. We have a lot at the UMK conducted by faculties, by the program itself, or maybe from the student affairs division. So for example, from 0 to hero, nucleus intervention camp, learning workshop, rising star workshop, and so on. There's a lot. So depending on the needs of the student. So from the data itself, actually helps us into planning and executing programs or workshops or any kind of program or camp that able to supervise and able to handhold students. So these are the data that we have, and it's humongous. It's a lot. Yeah. So how do we utilize all this data? So from here, we are moving towards the intelligent. Yeah. So under the roof of 2-cycle process, from the PLO reporting, we are moving towards the academic analytics, and of course, the analytics come from the information. So we have to curate the information so that whatever we carry on the analytics will help the student improvement. So of course, we have the reporting. Yeah, we have the reporting. We have the PLO reporting, which is happening every semester. And here from this reporting, the student themselves or the program owner able to decide how to improve the student, especially to improve their skill sets. And of course, other than PLO reporting, we also go into the how's the trending and how can we forecast this is going to happen. We are still in the development of the system, and at the end we're able to come up with the academic analytics. We call it academic analytics of unique identified performance. Yeah. So this is very important for us to give some knowledge to give student the exact progress of their learning. Yeah. So
okay, Prof. Su, right, okay, because of times of against us, okay, we have a few questions also related to what you're doing. So is it possible that you can just briefly tell us the last part of your presentations, or to sum up? Yeah.
Yeah, actually that was my last.
All right, okay, my apology for that. Yeah, okay.
But I've give some attachment of our student testimony.
Right, okay.
This is one of our students from 2U2I Entrepreneurship program under the roof of Business and Entrepreneurship faculty, Prof. Rose, who are the dean now. So ASEAN has been very successful, and she never know, and she fell in love when she put herself into the business when she was second year. Daniel, who has 6 digits pay now, yeah. And of course, maybe I will share a short video if possible afterward. This is very irony, Prof. Rose and participants. Mr. Nazri, this is very ironic. She's the graduate. She's the graduate from the hospitality, but she has that entrepreneurship training, even though it's only 6 courses equivalent to 18 credits, Prof. Rose, of 4 courses, 12 credits. Yeah. But it came out so tremendously. She's now become an entrepreneur, and she opened up, they call it Ambang Kitchen. Well, I'll share with that later on if we have time. And she made do with her experience as UMK student as an entrepreneur. Yeah. So there's, and then of course I would like to map, if I may, Mr. Nazri, you have proposed the 4x4x4 matrix. Yeah. Right. I think in the case of teaching, learning, and innovation, the strategic focus area will be track 3 and track 4. So when we have this further discussion, I think what we are doing now actually has similar what the MyFinB is actually doing. Yeah? With that, thank you, Professor.
Right. Okay. Thank you very much, Prof. Suria. I'm sorry about that just now, but actually you have done wonderful. Okay. When Mr. Nazri have give us a preamble about how AI takes place in the teaching and learning, and then Prof. Suria came in to discuss in more details. Okay, how the importance of data and how the academic analytics can take place and basically transform the human intelligence. Yeah, okay. I'm going to take up a few questions here. There's quite a number of very pertinent questions here. Okay, some have been addressed by both of you when you talk about the parents, the involvement of the stakeholders, and so forth, the four aspects, how AI is built around the four aspects. We have mentioned that, right? Okay. One question is by Ada Saleh from the Zoom, yeah, from our Zoom. Okay. Ada Saleh asking about, do you agree if the AI-induced tools fail, the more we need to teach students soft skills, communication, and tap in social capital to complement AI now? So do you agree with that? So it could be the AI-induced tools may fail, right? Okay. So what do you think about this? Any one of you? Yeah, Mr. Nazri, please.
Yeah, just try. How come there's a test? Check.
So if AI fails, so the more we need to teach the students soft skills in terms of communication and also be able to tap the social capital to complement the AI. Yeah.
I think in the first place, we must define what do we mean by AI tools, right? So AI tools, if the AI tools induced tools fail, right? So what does it mean? It means that you don't know how to manage your data, and then you interpret the data wrongly, and then you give advice wrongly. I mean, this is a very narrow definition of what constitutes failure. It means that
we need to define what fail, what is, right,
first of all, we need to define, right? So, and secondly, we have to understand what do we mean by fail. Fail means the AI tools are not sophisticated enough, data is not complete enough to be applied by the rudimentary AI tools. And third one is that, that there's no intervention, the diagnosis is wrong. So basically, the whole value chain is not effective because the diagnosis is wrong in the first place. So I would define failure as that. Now, so that brings back to the fundamental question: what is the AI tool are we talking about, right? So AI tool must be driven by data, right? And because it's driven by data, it must have the right diagnostic capabilities. It must have a very powerful, accurate diagnostic capabilities. So how to make it not fail in the first place is that you must make sure that the diagnosis is correct, the dimensions or the variables are correct, right? And then the techniques of analyzing data is correct, that leads to the right diagnosis and right intervention plan. And because if that is done correctly, then the question here is, what if it's done wrongly? If it's done wrongly, the humans will still be forced to do what you call a manual-based approach. That means you don't take into account Professor Suria's method, you don't take into account MyFinB's analytical capabilities. That means you put that aside, you get humans. You get humans with 30 years experience, 20 years experience, 10 years experience, 5 years experience to handle millions of data, not just one student, but let's say 10,000 students in your cohort, right? So you do manual approach, Excel based, you start doing questionnaire, you start doing focus group, 18 months later, you come out with a result. Okay, but by then, the data won't be effective. So it is imperative that when we conduct, okay, an intervention program or an analytical, diagnostic, it must be done properly in the first place. If you don't do that, then you do the manual. Manual will have fatigue, errors, non-uniformity, and very subjective exercise can take place and a lot of errors. It's like going back to the 70s, when all of us, when we study, or and then everything is done very manual. So things are not scientifically processed, things are not rapidly processed, and things are not intelligently produced in a relevant manner. That means the time taken for a study to the publication, right, it is too long before meaningful results can be determined. Some more in the digital 4.0, IR 4.0, you have too much information coming your way. As far as the social capital is concerned, if I get the question correctly, you can also use AI. In fact, you can create what you call like a grab for social capital. So after profiling each student or millions of students, right? Imagine AI can be used to connect to the right mentors with the right skill set, the right experience to deal with one particular gap of a student's particular skill set gap. So you don't just rojak, connect people, but you connect people based on their respective competencies and respective capabilities and respective attributes of that student versus 999,000 students elsewhere. So technology is a must, okay, and must be designed correctly and must be deployed in a way that it is free from errors and free from too much subjectivities. It must be very objective centric. So hence academic, non-academic data must be integrated to fit into not just the program, but the courses, not just the courses, but the syllabus, not just the syllabus, but the topics. It can go down to that level. So you can't do it manually for sure. You can do for 1 or 10 or 50 students, right? But how to do it for millions of undergrads in the university? So we are looking for technology that's impactful to the education ecosystem, and you have to adopt smart systems like AI to basically be able to bring you from diagnostic to predictive to prescriptive, and then ability to monitor and flag what are the red flags or issues that are emerging pertaining to one as well as an aggregated basis. So this is where we are in now. In the world of IR 4.0, we have to adopt technology that is fast, that's dynamic, that is not static, and that's very adaptable. Yeah. So this is my response to a very good question by Adhar. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Prof. Suria, you want to inject some more, or you're okay with that?
My take is that you need to formulate an accurate algorithm.
Algorithm, right.
That whatever you want to assess, whatever you want to see, whatever you want to get from the data, you're able to have it, and the formulations of your algorithm must be correct. You want to, it is a construct to get the construct validity done right.
Okay, right. So when we talk about algorithm, we're going to talk about data and AI basically capturing data. So that poses also the worry of the user about the security. So I'm going to entail, I'm agreed with one of the audience there, which I wanted to pose that, but she already posed the questions here. Okay, by, wait a minute, by no Sheila, if I'm not mistaken here. With regards to the security, the data security, how do we ensure that security is there, right? So in place at the higher education.
Mr. Nazri,
any of you, yeah.
You can share your experience first.
Of course, this is very important and very vital. Security matters are our top priority to safeguard all the data that we have. Of course, students might not want to leak their personal information. And of course, university need to safeguard all the privacy and so forth. So at our level, security matters being our priority.
Yeah, for security, there are different levels, right? One is from a technical security standpoint. The second is legal security. Third is operational security. And fourth will be the data security, or what you call the data handling processes and procedures. So when talks about legal security, then at a high level, both leaders of the organization that's processing the data or receiving the data from the institute must have very strict legal agreement about what you can or cannot use with the data. So legally, there will be an agreement that typically governs the way two organizations manage data internally and externally. So they tell you what you can or cannot do with it, right? So it's strictly for the use of ABC. That's it. You can't use for any other reasons, right? So I won't go through all the perspective or levels, but of course the second one will be the technical security. So naturally, all the pen tests, all the tools to prevent hackers, to prevent access are being carried out. So people who are involved in the analytical part, okay, will be segregated from people who are handling the, let's say, the financial or demographics and all that. And the names will typically be codified. So you will know, like, this is Ahmad bin Dola, or this is Suryani binti Kasim, you know. So we tend to, for the data scientist part, they speak based on coded language. So we treat the identity as a number, right? So so that your relative, your friend, you know, or somebody you know from a particular university is not didn't land to the wrong hands, or tempted the person to do something funny, right? So maybe they like that particular boy or girl in that university, then start digging. So you can't control these things, right? But what you can do is, I mean, from the intention point of view, but you can control is the policies around it and the data description. So these are some of the many measures that you can consider to protect. And of course, the most important thing at the end of the day is the integrity. You know, if you are a marketing company, right, private sector, you're a marketing company, you're a database company. So there's a tendency for you to be tempted to use the data to sell to banks and insurance. But if you're not, if you are purely a data science or analytics or edtech, you know, so chances are, you know, by looking at the setup of a company, you know whether that company will want to use the data for their own other commercial users. So for people who use it for research, specific to the topic and the subject and the project for the national level, right? So you know that these are legit organizations that merely use data for that project, right? So I think there are signs of that that is outside the legal, outside the procedure. You must look at the business model of the company, whether they are likely to use the data for other commercial reasons or not. That's all from my side.
Right, thank you very much. We are actually 104 now. All right, okay. Basically, there are comments from the audience. I hope both of you can read it. They agreed to what both of you have mentioned, the tenets, and also the key points, okay, that how do we build AIs within the 4 factors that Nazri have said just now, right? Okay, so any last word from both of you? I will allow 30 seconds before we end, we sum up. Or that
Prof. Suria?
Prof. Suria?
We are living in a new world where AI takes place, where machine speaks to us, you know. So we have to upskill, reskill, retool ourselves so that we are not lay back behind. And of course, AI cut across multidiscipline. So utilize it, optimize it, and in our case, we are dealing with a student. I think student will appreciate if we share what we have, and they're able to improve themselves so that when they graduated, they will become a balanced student. They will able to be a strong communicator. They're able to be a resilient person. They're able to lead, and of course, this is what we want.
Thank you, Prof. Sur. Mr. Nazri?
Yeah, I agree completely with Professor Suria. And at the end of the day, analyzing results at the end of a semester is an important aspect of the value chain of learning. That means after you study for 1 semester, end of the period, you get a score, and then you accumulate over a period of time, and then you try to make sense of it, right? This is very critical and important part, but there must also be the preventive or the precursor to that. That means, what if there is a technique to identify the drivers before the results are out, before the students sit for the exam? What will be the top X number of factors that will affect their likely outcome moving forward before they even get the results, right? So, so understanding the psychological aspects of it, behavioral, the attitude, the interest level, play a very important role to determine the level of motivation, not in general, not as a personality, but in relation to a specific program, a specific course, a specific syllabus, a specific topic within that syllabus, right? So you can't do it manually. That's what we are saying, that if the data is made available at that granular level, the machine is able to analyze from a micro to macro factor within the student's life, and then map it against the population of the student in the university, and then map it against the PLO objectives, the CLO objectives, right? Based on that particular program, learning objective, range of evidence, and assessment criteria. So we live in very exciting times where data is everywhere. 80% are unstructured data, 20% is structured data, right? So when you have this 80-20 thing, you must have technology smart enough to handle the algorithm smart enough to handle the 80% unstructured and 20% structured. Blend it together, make it predictive, make it prescriptive. As what our technology has demonstrated, we are able to work with universities like UMK. We are extremely excited to work with Professor Suria. Like based on the dashboards that you have, imagine you use AI to recite whatever Prof. Suria was talking just now. So as she was explaining, I listened to how she interprets the results, how she explains, how she narrated. So imagine that machine can interpret and analyze based on those dashboards that's been shown and map out what are the specific action plan in words, in Bahasa, in Mandarin, in English, in any language that you want. So that is the future that we hope to work with UMK. And what does Professor Suria and Roselina do? Professor Rose do, right? They take the results with the reports, they bring it even further up the value chain, right? And they start giving more solution to the policymakers, to the national agenda, to the national issues that are prevalent in today's setting. So this is how AI can actually augment not just Prof. Suria, but myself. I'm learning from human, and I'm trying to apply it to the system, right? And then the system pumps back the info to the human, and the human bring it up to the policymakers, also humans. So at the end of the day, my last line is that make technology work for us. Don't make us work for technology, but make technology work for us. I think that is the key message at the end of my speech. Thank you.
Right, thank you very much, Mr. Nazri and Prof. Suria. I think after listening to both of your presentations, so what we have discussed today is one of the very comprehensive framework of adopting the AI in personalized learning. And what the key takeaways here is that we need to understand the students' learning experience. We need not to forget the teachers' experience as well, right? We need to ensure they play a good role as a teacher as well as a coach, right? And the last part is that the educational technology tools must be augmented, as what you say, to manage the multiple learning of experience actually. Yeah, okay, right. So on behalf of the organizer, both MyFinB and UMK, I would like to thank both panels. Once again, Prof. Suria, thank you very much, okay? And Mr. Nazri, you've been so loyal with us, right? Okay, for the fruitful information and sharings today, and to all audience and the followers, thank you so much for your patience and for your continuous support. And I would like to remind all of you, there will be the episode 4 scheduled on the 23rd of June, Tuesday at 12 p.m. So it will discuss another significant topic on the implications of AI on future workforce. Yeah, Prof. Suria has talked about the future skills. Okay, so we're going to dwell further in the next topic, and we're going to feature another guest speaker together with Mr. Nazri. So stay tuned with us. Thank you very much. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi
We have a
wabarakatuh.
pre-session, so anyone still around there, we can have chit-chatting. Yeah. Okay.
Santai-santai sikit.
Santai-santai. Yeah.
Thank you,
Okay.
Mr. Nazri. Yeah, I admire with your 4x4x4 matrix. So our part as the planner of the curriculum design and also the innovative part, I think it works there. It can be done. It's doable.
Thank you so much. Yeah, that's why I'm very looking forward, especially now that I just got to know you flew to Singapore to help Singapore Polytechnic.
Yeah.
Be aware of what you do. I think that's very, very impressive. And I really like what you presented also. And there's a lot of synergies to make it, take it further together with your expertise and knowledge. We will try to, systemize it further without interrupting your model. We can work, remotely, but yet integrated as in connected and linked together. So I think there's a lot of room for us to work together on that one.
This is what Mr. Nazri has been saying since day one. Okay, the important the academia and the industry sit together to understand the language well and the work culture. Yeah. Okay. Right. Okay. Mr. Nazri, Dr. Suria. Okay. I would like to call this person, and I've been noticed that he is also one of our very constant. He's been with us since episode 1. Dr. Hacharinjit Singh.
Yeah, I saw.
Dr. CJ, are you still there? Dr. CJ?
I think he's there. Yeah,
He's
still
there, but he's unmute. Yeah, I would like to get his view. All right, maybe he has some, and they say he's been putting some comments, okay, about the AI with regards to summative knowledge, okay, Prof. Suria, yeah, okay. Right, anyway, do you, I mean, both of you, especially Prof. Suria, like you are being the academic, do you foresee, what do you foresee the challenges that we would face to educate new technology among our students as well as our educators? That's the most important. Students, perhaps they are quick learner, but a fast learner, but our educators.
Oh, okay. What challenges? If you just close our eyes, what do we do before COVID? What is our situation before COVID? And how do we first, what is the first thing that we do when the government announced on the MCO? We sort of panic, but when we cool down, when we pause ourselves, we are doing something that can accommodate the MCO regulation, whereby there will be no physical, no face-to-face, and we have to be totally online. So, meaning to say, challenges can be positive, you know. So, it was an abrupt changes from normal classes, physical, face-to-face, into 360 degrees. And of course, they create fear, phobia, and so forth. But if we able to adapt the situation with a positive mindset, I think we are capable of doing. Of course, we have to be mindful that we are living in AI world, which is running super fast because they never sleep, right, Mr. Nazri?
yeah.
They never sleep.
That's right. Run overnight. You can run.
Yeah, they keep learning and they're able to read our mind and they will be better than us. So, so of course, challenges is there, Prof. Rose, for the students and educators, but we actually hold the position where we able to formulate the accurate formulation, accurate algorithms, or accurate rules that we minimize the overtaking of machine to us. But if we look back before MCO and after MCO, I trust that every one of us here at UMK is all on full online. From our be able to see the 360 degree turning, you know, from partial, or maybe they are quite a good courses owner who turn into blended learning. Now they have no choice. They have to be online, and they are doing superb.
Yeah. Okay. Mr. Aiza Muhammad.
Aiza?
Aiza, is it one of the MV? I think one of the audience registered with us. Aiza, are you still around, Mr. Aiza?
No.
Oh, left?
Yeah. I think I just want to add on
yes, please.
May I add a point on this?
Sure, sure.
So I just give you on screen WhatsApp discussion and between among three people. What can we do with WhatsApp conversation between three parties? This is actually a real conversation that starts talking about some meetings and then start deviating into other topics, social topics. Okay, so if you look at the full screen, can I have the full screen and then move on? So what can AI do in this case at a very, very basic level? Okay, so I extract the WhatsApp conversation, just a one pager over 30 minutes, right? Conversation in WhatsApp, in text, or you can be audio that is converted into text, right? So without you being in this conversation, how can AI summarize and give you some sensing of what the topic is about, what are the key issues, and what could be the future topics that that could bring you into the conversation, and what type of person, if this is one person talking to himself or herself, what sort of personality is this person? Okay, so you can see that from the conversation. Can you zoom in a little bit? It's very random. It's about somebody coming back from exercise, right? Conversationing, and then talking about a meeting that took place, and then suddenly talk about Nazri to invite them for mi soto and jogging and all that, right? Scroll down, please. And then after that, what did the machine do? Okay, what it does is immediately, okay, just move to the analytics. Thank you. It talks about the sentiment, pause. So it talks about the mood of the conversation. Is it angry? Is it full of vulgarity? Is it full of positive energy? And you're not in the meeting, right? This is just three people talking and using words, okay, using phrases to describe multiple random setting, okay? And then you look at word cloud, you look at things that appear very often. Nazri, eat, durian, go, big, especially, PKF, right? So these are the words that stands out. So then you go down further, the machine also summarizes for you, okay, in proper sentence. So talking about, I mean, this is machine lah. So sometimes the day, you may not know whose day, right? So you can refer to the word cloud. They're talking about one of the parties there, right? And then they summarize for you. Then third paragraph, suddenly I have to invite them for mi soto. Then suddenly talk about Fortune 500 and all that. Talk about somebody weight loss days and all that, right? Then you look at the word link on the left side. Word link talks about the cluster of words that arise out of the unstructured data. And then below, you look at the frequency, right? Can you go below? So this is a very simple, profiling of the conversation that can go to level 3, level 4, which is predictive and prescriptive. Okay, and we have the engine for that, for political purposes, for government, for policies and education and all that, healthcare. Scroll down. And then what if you mix all this combination together, right? What sort of person you get out of this? Okay, then suddenly it uses a profile, okay, a hypothetical profile of a person. This person is strict, deliberate, carefully think through decisions, right? This is based on the Big 5 personality system. Yes, Big 5.
Just to analyze 3 people.
Yeah, that conversation. Of course, if you analyze 10 years of data or 10 months of conversation, right? Or 1 semester of assignments given, right? So you already know what is a marking criteria, right? You know what points to look at for. But how about if the machine extracts all the key points that you're looking for, summarize it and segment it, and then look at the frequency that they use. It can be customized for that. And then not only it does this, it does a percentile analysis at the bottom, right? So in terms of your Big 5 values, Big 5 personality. Okay, so you can compare this person, this hypothetical person against many other persons, for example. So what I just showed you is a permission given conversation with 2 other of my friends and partners who are talking about at least 4 or 5 issues, if you go back to the word cloud and all that. But predictably, what it can do, okay, is that it can, in fact, talk about what's the follow-up. That means, there's supposed to be an event where I'm supposed to invite for what? Call it potluck, right? Go to the top, please, the word cloud. So, and there's a thing about exercises, and there's something about, a social setting that's been happening while a social will meet with PKF, which is an accounting firm, a formal meeting that is still affected by the CB, right? CB means circuit breaker in Singapore, right? And then suddenly you have to see a little KFC down there. Then you look at the words around it, so meeting over KFC, for example. So that thoughts like this that could be extracted. And these are very normal amongst youth, right? When they talk in your social media, when they speak during lessons, you can actually record and turn the speech into text, and then you analyze the text. So whatever you see there can be an audio without everybody keying any questionnaire, no filling up of form, nothing. They just talk, right? They talk like now you're talking. We actually have a software that can convert your voice into text. Then those text that comes out, right? Then we analyze it like the way you see it here and conduct more analysis. We can do the sentiment, word cloud, word link, and then frequency. So our study into unstructured data has been intensified in the last 12 months or so, because we feel that to complement the structured data, financial statements, bank statements, utility bills, academic grades, registration form, right? Those are very structured, very static. But if you mix the static with the unstructured data, which is information everywhere, right? You have a very much more dynamic situation. So to answer the earlier question about subjective data being used, I would turn the word subjective to dynamic, right?
Yeah.
Subjective is minimized because no longer you ask people to fill up questionnaire. You're asking people to say what they feel, say what they think. And then you look for consistency, you look for inconsistency, you look for the sentiment, you look for context, you look for the semantics, and then the subjective is reduced tremendously because everything becomes more scientific on a set of conversation, right? So this is what we meant. We can digitize conversation and turn into analytics, and then turn into a set of implications, right? Instead of meeting,
I think our students, like our students who conduct research, the postgraduate students who conduct interviews, focus group discussion, is actually can take advantage of this kind of systems. Actually, yeah.
Yes, and believe me, I didn't invent speech to text or text to speech. This technology has been around for more than 5 years. It's just that we did integrate it. We just look at it as a fun thing, but you can integrate it to an AI engine, to your analytical tools, right? To your BI, to your dashboard, right? So it's a question of how you configure it and what is the pain point you're trying to address. So for PhD,
great. The scholar say automatic analysis, yeah, Prof. Suria?
So do you, yes, Prof, did you use some kind of calculators to extract all the data, computer-aided qualitative data software like MVivo or Atlas to get this data, Mr. Nazri?
Yeah, there are many platforms. In fact, we work with some universities and the students, even though they didn't learn certain tools, they self-study themselves. I'm very impressed. So we have a table of data. Can my analysts flash the types of technology required to pull and scrape data? There's a table that we give to the FYP capstone students. I'll share with you shortly. If you ask me what type of technical or technological knowledge or skills from a technological standpoint, I'll show you that table, and then you know where I'm coming from. You know why I say this? Because different analysts use different method of scraping and processing data, and there's more than one, right? So it could be used Python to scrape all this information, and then we could also use some form of RSS feeds, some kind of APIs, right? That you will see later. For my analysts, you know which document I'm referring to, right? Like scraping, platform, database, and all the languages underneath it. So that will give you an idea of the types of languages that are being used to scrape or interface with unstructured data. While waiting for that,
Okay, all right. Dr. CJ just now just WhatsApp me. Dr. CJ, can you hear me? Because he said he's online. He's been listening to us, but I couldn't figure out his name already in, I think. He can hear us, but we cannot capture his name in the list. Dr. CJ, are you in? Are you still there? It's okay, never mind, right? Okay.
Shy.
Fine. I think we have a wonderful session today. Okay, Mr. Nazri, Prof. Suria. So we look forward to the next event. Or you have something to share?
No.
No. Okay.
Thank you.
No. Misa, it's just the table just now. Thank you. Just now the table. Yeah, this one.
Okay. All
Yeah,
right.
Dr.
Okay.
Dr. Suria, Professor Suria, a full page for this one, please, so that audience at least know from a database standpoint, from a scraping extraction standpoint, right?
Because
From
yeah,
a
because
dashboard, UI
yeah,
UX.
yeah. Actually, I work a lot on document analysis using software. Basically, I use NVivo. So I think with this huge data, what you have shared is more or less that you have been put all together
Yes.
into one analytics, which
Yes.
is great.
That's
This is good
important
actually.
because
Yeah.
there's no one software or platform or language that can do everything.
Yes.
You have to have several technological tech stack, right, to make it to what you want.
Yeah.
And this is where even in the private sector, you have to keep on upgrading and keep on, tweaking and do a lot of R&D work and go to market very quickly. And this is where our strength lies in. Okay, so
Okay, all right.
all right.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, we'll see you next week, Mr. Nazri. All right.
Thank you
Okay.
for the excellent moderation, Professor Rose, and excellent sharing by Professor Surya. Let's be
She
in
learned
touch.
fast in online, actually, Prof. Rose. I must congratulate as a dean. She's one of the fast learner using webinar.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, really.
I can feel her energy from Singapore. So,
Oh yeah. Right. Okay.
but in any case, don't forget the 4x4x4, 4 teh
Yeah,
tarik,
yeah.
4 mie goreng, and 4
ABC, yeah.
nasi dagang.
Oh, sure.
All right. Okay. Nasi kerabu here, Mr.
Nasi
Nazri.
kerabu. Sorry,
Okay.
kerabu.
Right.
The background of UMK, you must come to UMK.
Inshallah, once the MCO is lifted fully, I'll visit you first thing.
Yeah, it's much safer than Singapore, it looks like.
Wow, that's a
All right,
very
okay, Mr. Nazri, first.
okay. Thank you.
Okay, okay, bye. All right,
Bye-bye.
okay. Salam.
Thank you, Prof. Rose. Well done.
Thank you very much. All right. Thank you, Prof. Su.
Yeah, doing great job. Yeah.
Thank you.
So I shall leave now.
Yes.